Hello, everyone, and welcome to another call. So today I have with us Stig, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him first, and then you're going to understand why we have him on the show today. So Stig Rune Smuck is an emotion code, body code, and NLP coaching practitioner. He's using his skill and knowledge in helping fathers who want to develop a better and stronger relationship with their children. He realized his own childhood issues were triggered and that they came up during his own relationship with his son. Not only that, but he had also noticed that he made the connection with his unhealed childhood issues that were also placing tension with his girlfriend. Now, coming from a background of reindeer herding in Norway, which is totally interesting story, by the way, he knew that he had to deal with his issues head on and is now on a mission to help other fathers improve their family relationships. And that is why I brought him today. He's going to come and talk to us about better parenting and relationships through holistic strategies. Stig, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the call.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here.
So I always like to start asking people how you got into the holistic event and the stories, but we just realized that that's with the triggering issues with your son. But I have to ask, the reindeer herding, how did that come about? Obviously, it was something that you ended up doing, and then the holistic came later, but could you see a connection between both of them? As in, did that actually help you become more of who you are? I don't know. I'm just very curious about that.
Yeah, actually, reindeer herding, it's a cultural thing, in the indigenous thing about inside the Sami community up in the north of Norway. Actually, the Sami culture is kind of a spiritual culture also, because you've had these shamans, and in Sami you call it Nuaidi. So you could in a way say that it's coming in generations, that thing also. So, but for me it was like a journey, because it was almost meant from the beginning, from my childhood, that I should be doing reindeer herding, because that's what is usual, because it's a cultural thing and it goes from generation to generation. And it's usual that kids and children, they are taking over the family's herd when that time comes. So, but at the same time, I felt like, yeah, it was totally okay to be in the reindeer herding, because I grew up with that and that thing. But it was like always felt that I was kind of different. It was like I had this other thing inside of me that I was like, maybe maybe there is something else for me, because it was like okay, it was like I said, it was okay with reindeer herding and being inside that cultural thing, but it was like I had another calling, you could say. Yeah.
And you're at the right show, because all of us feel that we're different from other people and that there's something else out there. So,
yeah,
I mean, definitely. So let's talk about actually how you did get into, and when I read your bio, it says that with your own son, your own issues were triggered. So talk to us a little bit about that.
yeah, actually that is also kind of interesting, because when we got our son, it was like I was going back in time to my own childhood, because my son reminded me of my own childhood things. And then it was like suddenly all of my childhood issues came up. And all of what I mean by that is like, because childhood issues, it's like you can get angry, you can get irritated, and all of those childish things are coming up.
Okay.
And that was also things that happened to me. I get frustrated, I get irritated, and sometimes angry, and those were really strong feelings inside of me. So and yeah, so I had to deal with those things, and yeah, it was really a good learning process for me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely kids make us learn. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you got into the emotion code and the body code, did you get in it because somehow you knew that was going to help, or how did you choose those those certifications and that study?
Yeah, because it was like maybe 10 or 20 years ago, I started like I was looking for some kind of self-development tools and things like that. It started interesting me because it was like uh, I felt that there is something else going on.
Mhm.
So and I took first this NLP certification course. Was first practitioner, NLP practitioner, and then I took the master practitioner in the 2000, 2004 and 5, I think it was. And that was my starting journey. It really took me on the hook of like even doing more research about self-improvement and even healing, which body code and emotion code is. That's more like a healing modality. So yeah.
Let me ask you. So I'm taking notes because then I don't want to interrupt and I forget. So I know NLP as well.
Yeah.
Question for you. I would describe it, I don't know if I'm correct or not, but I would describe NLP more as in reprogramming the brain, while the emotion and body code is more of like the healing modality. We don't need to, right? Like it's different. How would you explain the difference between both of them? Because they are, every healing modality is very powerful, but there I could see like the emotions and the mind that you work with both.
Yeah, yeah, because NLP, it's neuro-linguistic programming, because you're actually trying to program your brain, getting out of your old programs and installing new programs. So NLP is it's based on many times on these what do you call it? It's different kind of techniques you can use to deprogram things, deprogram your internal programming, and add new programming into your brain and system. So yeah, it's based on hypnotic methods many times, and they can be very powerful. But there are certain limitations regarding those, and I feel like that's where emotion codes, which is more like a healing modality. Um, and yeah, and so the difference is like NLP is more like you're doing like more consciously deprogramming and
Mhm.
programming, and like emotion code and body code is more like a healing modality. So you go beyond the conscious mind.
Right.
So and so it's more like this. You delve into the big oasis, or what you should call it, of your unconscious mind with the emotion code and the body code. So yeah, that's how I see it, as differences between those two.
I'm laughing because you said in the big oasis of the subconscious mind. I would have said in the big hell of a mess we have there in the subconscious, because there's so
Yeah,
many things. There's so many things we have in there that literally they're subconscious and we don't know, but it's like this huge mess.
yeah, it is. It's so much stuff there, and uh, your consciousness is just taking up so and so. You can't consciously be aware of everything in the world at once, but your unconsciousness is connected to everything, I think. So so it's really big.
Right.
It can be a mess, as you say, also. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so then we get back to the you're helping fathers. Okay. I have like a whole bunch of different questions. Let's start one by one. Let me focus my conscious mind. So you're helping fathers that want to have a better relationship with their children. Does that mean that they're not having a good relationship, or they just want to improve the good relationship?
Yeah, I think most fathers, they want to have a good relationship with their children, and but many times, at least I felt that it was like I wanted the best possible relationship with my son, but your unconscious mind comes up and says, no, 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 you're angry. No, you should do this. No, you should. Oh, I'm so worried. And all of these fearful feelings come up and oversteer your conscious mind.
Right.
And that's where it's good to have some tools and maybe a coach or someone to help you to deal with those unconscious memories, which is triggered up and they are overtaking your system,
Mhm.
overtaking your conscious mind, because consciously you can be thinking about, I should be do this because this is very good for my children,
Right.
and yeah, I should do that. But your unconscious mind is coming up and just destroying everything.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. And I mean, it's funny because I mean, I won't get into it here. I've talked about it in other shows. I've gone down this spiritual personal development healing path for the past 25 years. My daughter's 19. Long story short, I've raised her on my own. I got divorced when she was 1. So I've raised her for 18 years. The part that people don't know is actually because it happened 2 weeks ago. She was here. She's away at college now, but she was here with me. And I turned around and I looked at her and we were talking. And then I go, honey, I want to apologize for anything that I probably did that I didn't realize I did messing you up. Like I've healed a lot of stuff. I've worked on a lot of stuff. And she looked at me and she goes, no, mom, I get it. It's hard to raise a child. It's hard to be a single mom. We made it. We're good. And I saw the healing that you did throughout my entire life. For me, like I'm actually holding back tears right now because for me, she's always been my number one reason of why to go into subconscious and why to heal a whole bunch of things, precisely because of the work that you do. We are so triggered by our subconscious that, like you said, it literally hijacks you and it overtakes you. And when I heard literally my mother's voice coming out of me and reacting in ways that I was like, oh my God, that's what she would have said. That's what triggered it for me. Okay, I have to heal that because that's not me. That's like coming. But again, I've been on this path for 25 years. My question to you is, how do you help people? How do people realize that they're being triggered by something that they can heal versus them thinking that's just the way they are? Does that make sense?
Could you repeat that question?
How do people know? Let's say a father. How does a father know that the way he's reacting and he's responding to his, let's say, son or parenting way of being, what's a clue to let them know that that's a childhood wound that they probably have versus thinking
Yeah,
it's just normal?
yeah, because if you consciously think, you have a plan in your mind, and you consciously are aware of, okay, this is how I should act in those situations. And if you don't act like that, yeah, you can be pretty sure it's an unconscious program coming up and overtaking your actions. So you can think that, okay, in this situation, I should be calm, I should say these things, but something else comes out of your mouth.
Right.
Um, because the unconscious programming is so woven into your system that it's taking over and running the show. And it should be the other way around. Like you consciously think, and your unconsciousness should be running good programs. And you can do that over time, but takes some effort. It takes some effort, and our children is great in that way to show us the things that we need to deprogram and make new programs.
Yeah,
And
they,
as you, yeah, and as you also said about your mother, like I could also see my father's program come up through me. So yeah, they are really good at showing us what we need to work on. And when you get through those things, and you realize that, oh, I have another way of doing things now.
mm,
I'm not getting triggered like I did the last time.
mm,
It's so rewarding for yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's great because not only do we need to heal ourselves, but if we can stop somehow screwing them up, because none of us parents know what we're doing until we're in the middle of it. But if we can actually, which is what I love about the work that you do, because it's not only healing the male, the man, the father, but it's healing that generation that's coming behind us so that they can have their own adventure, they can have their own thing without our crap on top of them like it was on top of us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it goes from generation to generation. And actually there has been some research about with mice where they see that if a mice is afraid of something, the next mice in the next generation of that mice will also be afraid of the same thing. So there has been research about these things also. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, so how do you, being a practitioner of both the emotion code and the NLP, when you have a client, how do you know which therapy would be better, or do you do a combination of both?
Yeah, actually, a combination I think is very useful because when I talk to the client, I can see what the client needs. But it's nothing wrong. We could do like NLP coaching and 1 hour of that, and the next time emotion code or body code or a mixture of those things. I can also mix in other things that I've also studied. So I think it's a powerful mix to mix in those things like coaching and healing. Yeah.
Right. No, and I think that's the way it should be. Like, I mean, I am so certified in so many different healing modalities, and I am such a book nerd that I will buy a book and read the whole book just because I'm interested in that. And when it comes time to me with my clients, I just mix it my own Angie way. And whatever the client needs, it's what they get. So I can totally see that because there's so many different healing modalities that help. And that's the whole purpose of everything that we do.
Yeah, it is, and every person is different. It's like I don't think there is one similar person in this world. We're all you can see similarities with people, but everyone is unique, and everyone is a puzzle piece in this world. So so that's also something to think about. Even me as a practitioner will learn things through a session with a client because everyone is different. So one thing that works really good with one client can be like, this is not the right thing for this client, and so on. So yeah, absolutely.
I have kind of a different question for you. I am glad to see there's more men in the healing and in practitioners because generally speaking, the population has kind of always been more women than men. Going in that route, I want to ask you. So I lead a lot of women's circles. I also participate in a lot of events and a lot of, centers and stuff like that, where more men are joining the spiritual conversation. My question to you, what do you see that more men need to hear that it's okay to get help?
Yeah, the thing for me has been, because of all of these courses and certifications that I've been through, it has been a majority of women there, and I've always I thought to myself, where are the men?
Exactly.
Because it has been like I want to have a men's group, so that's what I'm also focusing on men, because I want us men also to develop and participate in this spiritual journey that this world needs. So yeah.
And that's the thing. I think, okay, if we're going to go into the spiritual woo-woo side of it for a minute, I'm not talking about feminist and patriarchy, like in that sense. I'll just talk about it in a general term. I know what women have been through because I'm one, period. But I've heard the conversation of open-minded men like yourself that have told me in different scenarios, well, we were raised that men don't cry, men don't show emotions, men don't ask for help, blah, 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 blah. But if you really look at it, and let's say we're talking about parenting and kids now, if we look at everybody like a child, a little boy and a little girl aren't different with what they need. And I think we all as a society forgot that. And if we can help as many men as possible, which again is the reason I wanted to bring you on the show, because I love the work that you're doing. It's about approaching the men. I see it from a marketing perspective of, if you're approaching the men with, you can be a better father, you're still helping the man. You're still helping that soul, that human being who has issues, who went through childhood trauma, who went through all the crap that everybody goes through, but you're offering them a platform to get help. So what can you tell us so that we can help more men come onto this path?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. I've been thinking about that myself. But what I'm trying here is to make a community for men. So for fathers and men to participate and discuss. And actually, I'm kind of curious myself what will happen inside that group, because I think it will be a different kind of group where you mix women and men together. And it's nothing wrong with women. I like
Please.
women. Yeah, yeah. But I think it's a benefit to have only men in one group and have men discuss, and who knows where it goes from there. I think when men get on this spiritual path, I think a lot of things will change in this world. So yeah, that's my goal.
No, and that's nice. And you and I will talk after the recording because I've also been thinking of something. But the
Yeah,
world has to change, and from both of us, from both angles. A lot of men
yeah,
need healing, and a lot of women still need healing. And a lot of couples, let's say men and women, need healing precisely because she came with her issues, he came with his issues, and then they created even more issues. So if we could start like peeling off those layers, I always explain it like layers of an onion. Once we start really taking off all these layers, the world has to be better just by default because we're all feeling better. I mean, I know once we all go through some kind of healing for ourselves, we feel happier, we're more joyful, we love more, we have more empathy. If we get more people to feel that, the world has to change, which is literally the purpose of everything we're doing.
yeah, absolutely, it is. Um, and the more layers you take off of these bad layers, the closer you get to who you really are,
Mhm.
because deep down at the core of who you really are, and I don't think we will ever get there that we know it completely what we are, but the more you come close to who you really are, the more love there will be. in the world. So because our foundation as human beings, there is only love, as I see it, but it's these bad programmings that are steering us in the wrong direction for the most part, I think.
Well, let's say they were steering us. We are going to put a stop to that.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole thing is definitely about. I mean, it's definitely that kind of work. And the more, let's say both men and women, like I said before, the more opportunity and possibility we give our children, and what parent doesn't want to give the absolute best opportunity for their child?
Yeah. Yeah, who doesn't want that? I think most people want that. And if you don't want that, I think you have maybe too much bad programming. But and I understand people because I understand myself also, because I've been through that myself with my bad programming. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect today, because I still have programs, but I've been through a lot of bad programs, and it feels so much better now. And it also feels very good to be able to help others also, because you've been through that process, and you know how it is to be at that place you don't want to be. And you also know how it is to be where you want to be. And that's also a very good feeling.
Yeah. And again, I think that's what every individual wants. Maybe we all see it in a different way, but at our core, it's to feel better. And okay, so I went through a severe depression years ago. I just didn't know I was depressed. But looking back now, I can see all the signs. But when you're going through something like that, whether it's a depression or a bad time, or, bad programming, or whatever it is, when you're going through it, it's sometimes hard to notice that. Yet when you're able to push yourself through, or get the help that you need, or the universe sends you somebody without you even knowing, which is what happened in my case, and then you start seeing, I think that's why so many of us healers and coaches do the work that we do, because we now feel better, and we want to help those who were going through that, because nobody should have to live anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I see inside this healer or coaching world is like there are many people who has gone through really like depression and those kind of things, and I think those are the best practitioners, because they know how it is. And when you've been through that process, that's really difficult process, you have an experience that other people who hasn't been through that process, they don't have this experience, but you have it. And I also have that. I've been through a lot of things. My dad, he had some serious issues, and yeah, it was a big process for me to go through those things. So yeah.
It's funny.
But it's hope when you get through that.
Yeah.
And it's like when you get through that on the other side, it's like wow, it's so good. It's hard to describe, but it's very good when you come through
And
that.
the magic of it happens if, again, we go spiritual and woo-woo side to it, because we're feeling better, because we're happier, because we've taken off all those heavy emotions. Life starts getting better, because here comes the universal laws of like attracts like. So you're in a happier place, and synchronicities start happening. I like to call them magic, because it's just a fun word. So the magic appears in your life, and things literally can turn around 180 degrees. And you look back and you're like, I don't even recognize that person anymore. Like, I don't recognize that part of my life anymore as me, because everything has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I noticed early on when I started with my own journey of healing my own trapped emotions and my bad programming. And suddenly, some people stopped by me and started talking to me. It's people that I haven't had contact with earlier, and they were just like talking to me, and it was like, wow, this was weird. Because when something changes inside yourself, everything else also changes outside. So those are kind of those mysterious and but the good things also. It's like you see things that you haven't seen before. And the same thing goes with like your relationship with your parents. It's like when you go through that process of healing those memories with your parents, and you are talking to them, it's like you talk to them in a different way. Yeah. So
It's funny, I just, as you were saying that, I'll share a little experience of my past. So my parents divorced when I was really young. I grew up, like, I'll fast forward it, I won't get into details, but I grew up with a version of my perception of my dad. My dad has always been in the picture, and he's always been there for us. They just didn't live together. When I started my healing journey, like really dig down, and I went through the alternative medicine program, one of the things that I remembered consciously, because I had never thought about it in that way, was what I remembered of my dad was the perception of what was happening. A lot of the things, our mind goes through different filters. So something happens and then we start filtering it. So I filtered the situation to a certain point that my creative mind said, oh, this is the version of what happened, when in reality it was something different. But it was my perception. When I healed that, my relationship with my dad changed. That was, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe. To this day, I can close my eyes, and I do ancestral work. So when I do it on myself, I can close my eyes and I picture my dad. And it's funny because depending what I need to work on, I either picture my dad as of like 30 years ago, like the younger version him of my perception that I still need to heal something with. I can't picture my 77-year-old dad right now because he's just a cute little lovable, adorable father figure, because I was able to finally see that. Maybe he was that 30 years ago. Maybe he wasn't, but it was my perception that I healed. And the reason I'm sharing this is because sometimes we get so stuck in the day-to-day thinking of this is the story, how it happened. We have to let that version go if we want to change it and heal it, especially if we want a good relationship. So in my case, it's backwards, because you're helping parents have a better relationship with their children. I, for myself, wanted a better relationship with my father, so I healed myself. And today I love that little old man to pieces.
yeah, and isn't it good when you get there, like loving your dad on a deep level?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
and I think
it
that's
is.
absolutely great.
Yeah.
So I know we're kind of running a little bit out of time. Where can people connect with you? And I'll put the comments down below as always in the description, but where can people connect and learn more, especially men? Because I do believe if you do a men's group of some kind or whatever, you have my help, you have my input, because I do think that that is more than just needed. I think it's about time. I really do. So where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, if they want to contact me right away, they can do that on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. But I'm actually into a process of making a beta program to help fathers. So also, if people are interested in that, that's also possible. It will start in a month. That's the plan, at least. But if people want to contact me right away, they can do that on Facebook.
Okay, then
So
I'll go ahead and I'll put your profile link below.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Stig, thank you so much for joining our call today and for the conversation. It's been great.
Okay, thank you.
All right, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.